This is the FIFA World Cup. It is the ultimate testing ground for national football systems, where 4 years of institutional preparation are compressed into a single month of competition. Entering the 2026 tournament, Spain arrives as the reigning European champions and the primary statistical favorite to win the title. On the other side of the pitch is Cape Verde, a first-time debutante representing a radically different systemic background. Pre-match analysts point to a predictable outcome. Most expect a comfortable victory for the Spanish side, basing their projections on historical pedigree and paper statistics. But treating this as a foregone conclusion ignores the actual mechanics of the matchup. We are looking at a clash of deeply opposed structural realities. This diagram maps the geographic and demographic scale difference between the two competing nations. On the right is Spain's massive European landmass. On the left, the tiny island archipelago of Cape Verde. Cape Verde operates under a strict numerical constraint. Their entire national talent pool is drawn from a population of barely 500,000 people. Compare that to Spain, which filters its elite talent through a robust pipeline supported by tens of millions of citizens. This creates a real-world case study in extreme asymmetric resource deployment. Two distinct inputs are competing: Spain's elite institutional capital going up against Cape Verde's localized cultural cohesion. Analyzing how these extreme disparities interact on the pitch provides a more rigorous predictive model than simply assuming the wealthier team automatically wins. Look closely at the Spanish squad. You see a roster carrying a combined market valuation of hundreds of millions of dollars. That valuation is protected and maintained by elite domestic training facilities and world-class sports science infrastructure. This massive financial backing allows the national team to execute a complex, possession-heavy tactical system with extreme consistency. The primary objective of any high-capital system is to eliminate variance. It uses resources to mathematically guarantee favorable results. However, this creates an inherent tension when placed into a short-format tournament, where natural unpredictability is at its highest. Spain's core strategy relies on out-resourcing the opponent to force submission before the match even kicks off. This deployment strategy hinges on specific personnel variables, starting with their elite midfield anchor, Pedri. He is scheduled to start, tasked specifically with controlling the game state and dictating the system's baseline rhythm. But elite systems contain structural vulnerabilities. For Spain, a key vulnerability is the physical constraint placed on teenage asset Lamine Yamal. As he navigates a return to full fitness, Yamal is restricted to a bench role. This strict load management requirement dictates Spain's substitution strategy in advance, placing a hard limit on their in-game tactical flexibility. When a high-capital system is forced to accommodate rigid medical constraints, it introduces a level of mechanical predictability that an opponent can plan for. Now examine the macro environment of Cape Verde. Extracting a roster capable of competing on the global stage from this specific geographic topography is a stark statistical anomaly. The baseline environment here is defined by tightly knit daily realities and a distinct social fabric. The national team's head coach has explicitly directed his players to use this World Cup as a mechanism to project this culture to the world. This directive manifests as extreme psychological cohesion, which functions as Cape Verde's primary tactical offset to Spain's financial capital. By unifying the squad around the specific goal of cultural representation, they minimize communication lag during defensive transitions, allowing them to maintain a rigid formation longer than projected. This cohesive drive operates entirely outside the mechanical predictability of Spain's heavily funded infrastructure. Cape Verde weaponizes their shared background to intentionally introduce variance into a match that would otherwise be decided by resource parity. This balance sheet visualizes the flaw in consensus. Left, Spain's heavy capital inputs. Right, Cape Verde's systemic cohesion. Mapping Spain's resources yields a steady trendline, but Cape Verde's cohesion variance creates a chaotic interference pattern, entirely disrupting that smooth projection. Numerical projections often fail to account for the physical reality of a 90-minute match, where one lapse in concentration can nullify a $100 million resource advantage. Historical World Cup data consistently shows that short tournaments produce statistical anomalies and unpredicted outcomes. Extreme resource asymmetry combined with high emotional variance creates the precise mathematical conditions required for a major upset. The stakes here are starkly divided. For the global audience, this is standard group stage coverage. For Cape Verde, it is the most significant event in the nation's history. A single draw triggers a shift in FIFA coefficient rankings, which dictates seeding for future qualifying cycles, and provides the island with a higher probability of repeat tournament revenue. The upcoming 90 minutes act as a real-time stress test between immense financial capital and raw systemic cohesion. The draw of this tournament model is watching a constrained underdog attempt to break an optimized high-value system. We remain captivated by this matchup because it tests the limits of optimization, proving that even the most heavily resourced system can be vulnerable to a focused, unyielding outlier.